Everybody, welcome back to Think Business Live. Take 10 minutes with Van Carlson. Van, it's great to connect with you. You're the founder of your company, which is, sorry, I know I'm reading one thing, but then we just talked about the change. But the company is SRA 831B Admin, Strategic Risk Alternatives. And you're a company that helps manage and mitigate risk in businesses, which I think is so important today. So talk a little bit about, how people should be thinking about risk today, right? In I'm going to say an endemic world, because it seems like everything is ending and mandates
are normal.
Right. Mandates are lifting locally and around the country. So what does risk look like today?
Well, let me just say this by one of the reasons why it's risk management. It's never exciting in business, right? It's kind of a downer in a lot of businesses because, everybody wants to stay positive and upfront and charge the mountain. And I'll just say this, we're not making enough risk takers going forward in life from what I can see. And so if there's anything we can do to help mitigate the risk takers are taking, and just let them be aware of certain tools that are available to them to help mitigate. And it really comes down to calculated risk. And, of course, any entrepreneur, any business focused person, there's risk and rewards. And if I can manage my risk more effectively, the rewards can be much greater. Typically, in the world of business, the smaller the reward, smaller the risk.
Yeah.
And I think today, risk is at an all-time high for a lot of things, right? I mean, one of them is, due to COVID, I think COVID really spoke out to a lot of business owners that, I talk about indirect and not to dive into coverages so much when it comes to traditional insurances, but traditional insurances do a great job managing tangible assets of business. They don't do a great job on the intangible assets of a business. And a lot of times the greatest intangible of a business is the cash flow.
Yeah.
I think COVID-19 kind of shown that, where people were forced to shut down or just had to shut down because the customers weren't coming to them. Those were indirect losses, no physical loss done on the property. There wasn't a fire. There wasn't a tornado that hit and blew my roof off my building. It's just simply I had to shut down, and there was no traditional business interruption there. So then you fast forward today, now we've got supply chain risks that are affecting business owners significantly. And I think it's becoming glaring to a lot of business owners. Not only from a cost structure standpoint, but if you got yourself locked into a contract and you had to deliver a product at X, and now it's costing you more than what your contract originally stated for, you can't reset the contract, right? Unless you had a really good attorney that wrote those into the contracts. But most of us, the small to middle market business owners, don't have that. And so risk is, and now we have cyber. I mean, I was just at a cyber conference yesterday, and it's up 640%. Unfortunately, since the issue happened in Russia and Ukraine, it's up 640% right now, cyber attacks in the United States. And they're attacking a lot of small businesses that aren't really prepared for it because sanctions and everything else that comes in, these are government sanctioned cyber attacks on small to middle market business owners that have a ton of exposure out there in cyber. It's amazing how much data we collect.
Yeah.
It's amazing that, moving money through internet, POS systems, all those things. I mean, this is a huge responsibility we take on. And unfortunately, traditional insurance companies can't do it all. They will never do it all. They have no interest to do it all. And so there's a ton of self-insuring risk, and there's a little known tax code called 831B.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. For those people who don't understand, what the 831B is.
Yeah, so 831B is really what happened in 1986 tax reform is when it was introduced. This, like the 401k tax code was introduced in the 1978 legislation. It was 401k was an incentive to create a retirement for the owners plus their employees. Evolved that way, essentially. The 831B was designed to create an incentive to recognize business owners are self-insuring risk. And how do you make that more of an incentive and really more of a tax incentive savings account to recognize that risk? A good example, if I have a warranty, if I sell a widget, I have a warranty I have to give, which is an applied warranty, but then to be competitive, I might do a 5-year warranty on that product. Well, I'm covering from 2 to 5 on my own. Most businesses are required by state law to give you some kind of implied warranty. But if I'm extending my warranty out, that's an unfunded liability for the next 5 years. And depending on where the economy's at and everything else. So what was happening back in 1986, though, a lot of businesses were just, rates went up to, I wrote an article for Forbes on it. It was called the Liability Crisis. And basically people were being canceled, non-renewed for insurances if they had one claim. And now we're starting to see that as well tick up right now because we have a hardening of the market, traditional insurances. We have a huge demand on directors and officers, professional liability insurance. Cyber policies today are being written with more exclusions. And so when you start looking at the overall risk management of a business, unfortunately, there's a lot of risk that goes unfunded. You can't transfer that risk, right? If I can buy fire insurance for my building, I'm going to buy it through ABC Insurance Company. I'm transferring that risk to the insurance company for a premium. A lot of times it's retained inside the company. And I can go on and on about the risk factor. And for time, we don't need to discuss it in depth. But risk is not a problem if you own a business. You got plenty of it. So anyway, the tax code was put in place to create an incentive for you to own some kind of form of an and when I talk about an 831B plan, it really has to look and feel like an insurance company. So we admin 831B plans. That's what our company does. Yeah. No different than a 401k administrator.
That's your specialty. Yeah. So let me ask you a question. So to a company who maybe has never heard of an 831B or knows that they don't even know if they need one, what's something a question they should be asking themselves, or something they should be observing within their business?
I think it really comes down to their own personal experiences and what they're coming out of pocket for. The cash flow is the blood of the business, and how do I manage that cash flow more effectively? If all of a sudden I have an unexpected liability come onto the books, well, where's that money going to come from? It's going to come from the cash flow, right? Or you're going to go to your line of credit, or you're going to go to the bank and ask for, something's got to change. Somebody's got to, and so that's really where, I think that's first and foremost. And then fortunately too, John, I think a ton of clients, if you've been in business the last 3 years, you've experienced unfunded risk that you cannot buy insurance for.
Yeah.
And so we feel this will become a normal business practice for all businesses to own some kind of form of an 831B plan, no different than the 401ks become normal business. And we kind of track that. We have educational videos on our website and all that stuff to really kind of pair those two together, so business owners can kind of start to bridge over what's common with the 401k and what's common with the 831B, and what are the differences as well.
Right.
But make it very clear when it comes to self-insuring risk, taking a dollar and setting it off to the side and saying, hey, if something happens, I'm going to use that dollar.
Yeah.
Uncle Sam says, no, that doesn't work. That's realized the year you incur the income is the year you pay the taxes.
Yeah.
Right? As we all know.
All right.
The 831B was introduced to defer some of those taxes, to put them into a tax deferred, basically a rainy day fund, a war chest, whatever you want.
Yeah.
I should note there are a lot of regulations with this code. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of abuses as well. As we know, there's some tax advantages to the program, and it has been abused. And it's been abused to go around estate tax planning. Unfortunately, state tax attorneys got a hold of the code and they used it for something it was never designed to.
Yeah.
And you gotta love Americans. We have a tendency to do that. So.
Well, I think what the message though is, make sure you're working with a professional to make sure you do everything on the up and up. Professionals like you. Quick speed round for you, Van. You ready?
Yes.
Best piece of business wisdom you've ever received.
Nobody ever on career day at school stood up and said, one day I'm going to work for Van Carlson.
Favorite book and why?
E-Myth. I love E-Myth.
Yeah, Gerber, great book. I love that book. Yeah.
I want to run my business as a family business, but man, anywhere I can put in process and procedures, just makes everybody's life a little easier. And SOPs are important. So I love that book.
So I love that book. I've read it a couple times. Tell everybody, Van, who your ideal clients are and how they can connect with you.
Our ideal clients are business owners, forward thinking a little bit, and people that want to work not necessarily in their business all the time, but on their business. And this is a learning curve to it, and there's a concept to it that I think a lot of business owners aren't familiar with it. But 831b.com is where they want to start, and from there they can find our team and engage us in any way they like. We have about 180 agents around the country that represent our products, and we love to put them in touch if we can geographically as well. So certainly appreciate it.
Well, Van, I appreciate you being part of the 10-minute Think Business Live series. It's great. Good, gives people a really important flavor of something in business that they need, that they either know they need or aren't thinking about it, and it makes it top of mind. Think Community 831b, the letter B.com, if you want to connect with Van. Van, I appreciate you talking about everything today. Thanks for sharing your wisdom with the Think Community. Think Community, thank you so much. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks, Van.
Thank you.